Hello everybody, welcome back to lecture 4 of Excel. I trust you are all well and warm in this cold weather. Today we will be introducing several new features of Excel. Once again, let me show you where to find the activity. You go to Blackboard, Content, MS Excel Practical Tasks. You can ignore this one. It is for groups B and C. I will repeat that. You may ignore this one. It is for groups B and C only. So we move into our Excel Practical Tasks. We move into basic formulas. Last week we did Excel exercise 3. Today we are doing Excel exercise 4, in which there will be several new features that I'm going to introduce. So please watch carefully and it should be straightforward. The instructions are quite long. I have downloaded them already. Let's take a look at them. Let me just bring them over here. What we are doing today is we are using formulas and conditional formatting. Okay, now if you remember last week we used auto sum, which was sum, average, min, max. We didn't use count. We're going to use count today. And then we are moving on to actually using more advanced formulas within Excel to automatically fill our information in. So the first one we're going to have a look, and I'm going to go through this carefully, is inserting the today's date formula. Now let's have a look at our data sheet that we would like to work with. Let me make this a bit bigger for you guys so that you can see. It's still the Higher Ed Power Tools workbook. And what we would like, the first thing we're going to do is insert today's date. But we don't have to type in the date. Excel will automatically do this for me. And the format is I click on the cell, equals, today, open bracket, close bracket. Please have a look at that and remember, equals today, open bracket, close bracket. Now the nice thing is when I press enter, it gives us today's date. Tomorrow it will give us tomorrow's date, and the next day it will give us the following date. The next thing we would like to do is count the products. Now we've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 products. But let Excel count this for us. So I'm going to go to formulas at the top of my screen. I'm going to use auto sum. And what we're doing today is, instead of using sum, average, count numbers, we're going to use the count function. And when I press OK, I receive, please be aware of this, a new dialog that we haven't used before. Now there are so many formulas in here, we have to search for what we are looking for. So you clear that box and we search for count, and I click on go. Every time we search for a new formula, we need to click on go. Count counts the number of cells that contain numbers. Do these contain numbers? No, they do not. There is another formula we have called count A. Counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. That one is going to work for us. So we are using the count A feature. And I tell it count A, and if you have a look at the bottom here, it is constructing the formula for me. I'm going to highlight what I would like to count. I'm not counting another value, I'm only counting the first one. So please be aware there will be an empty one always at the end. So to recap, I'm using the count A formula. I am counting from B1, or sorry, B3 to B11. I tell it OK, and it's going to tell me, hey, there is 9 products. Double click in your cell, you can see the formula. If you make a mistake like I have just made, you can press escape and go back. Let's have a look at the formula in the formula bar. Count A, open bracket, B3 to B11, and that would be B3 to B11. I am going at a bit of a speed today because there is so much content to cover. Let's have a look at the question paper. That's count A, not count F. Let's move on to the next one. We want a grand total, and this one is from last week. So I can simply use auto sum and sum. It's not D3 to D12, it is D3 to D11. So I will highlight D3 to D11. It's the sum of D3 to D11, and I press enter, and there we get our grand total. I hope this is clear so far. Okay, students, the next one we are going to use is called the concatenate formula. Now, concatenate is an interesting word that means to join together or marry two things together. Have a look at the spelling, because you will need to remember that. It's concatenate. And what we would like to do in today's activity is I would like to join the first name to the second name with a space in between. So I'm going to click on here. Now, instead of auto sum more functions, I just go insert function. And I'm going to type in here concatenate. Again, please remember the spelling. I click on go. Join several text strings into one text string. Let's have a look at how this actually works. Okay, I say alright for concatenate equals concatenate what? I would like to concatenate this. Let's start that again. If you get stuck, just start again. Concatenate. I would like to concatenate the product first name. Now I need a space in between, and how we do that is you put an inverted comma, a space, and another inverted comma, or it will just join the two words together without a space. The third concatenate is the last name. So if you have a look at the formula here, it equals concatenate A3 space, because there's two inverted commas with a space in between, and B3. And I simply tell it OK, and there we go. It's concatenated the two together to tell me belt sander with a space in between. I may use my autofill. There we go. There's our names. That effectively, you may go back in the video and have a look at it, is concatenate. But I think for the sake of this video, I'm going to do this again for you. So I'm going to delete that. Concatenate is to join together belt and sander, and I actually need a space in between, because there will be no space in between if I just concatenate it. And I can actually show you that quickly. So insert function this time. You can either go auto sum more functions, or you can just click on function, and I'm going to use concatenate. It's there because I recently used it. I can concatenate that and that, but that is wrong, because it just says belt sander. There's no space in between, so I need to get the space in between, and that's where the inverted commas with a space comes from. So insert function, concatenate belt, inverted commas, space, inverted commas, and then the third thing I would like to concatenate is the last name. So it's going to join all of these things together, and it's joining A3, it's joining a space, and it's joining B3. There we go. Now I may autofill. Right, the next thing that we are going to do, and let's have a look here, is an if formula. Now, to give you an example of an if formula, if you get 50%, you will pass. If you get 40%, you will fail. That is an example of an if formula. It has conditions around it. So before we use the formula, let's have a look at what they would like us to do. Let's find the question. That one there was concatenate. We determined the grand total using sum. We used the today's date formula by equals today bracket bracket. That is still concatenate. Okay, what I would like to have, the next one, is the if statement, using an if statement formula. So you need to have a look at the conditions. Where do we want it? What are we going to use? What are we going to determine? And the rest of the conditions. So let's take a careful look at this. I've highlighted it in different colors because when you get a question like this, you need to break it down. You can't just read it as one sentence. It's going to confuse you, so we'll break it down into what they want. In the discount yes/no column, use an if statement to determine if a customer will receive a discount. If his product is less than 500 Rand, then that customer will receive no discount. If it is greater than 500 Rand, the customer will receive a discount. So we have greater than and less than 500 Rand. Technically it should be 499 because the 500 is overlapping, but we will use 500 for today. So we have an if statement here. Let's do this if statement. Insert function. I don't see it here. I'm going to type there if to find the if formula or if function. These are functions. And we have our arguments. If what? So it has begun the formula for me. If that the price of the total of each product of the purchase, if it is true, well, let's first finish our argument. If the product is greater than, I do not need to type the Rand, 500, the value if true equals, we have discount and no discount. If that is true, if it is more than 500, it must say here discount. If that is not true, in other words, if it is less than 500, it should say here, no discount. So let's very carefully have a look at our formula. If D3 is greater than 500, if that is true, it's going to say discount. If that is not true, it is going to say no discount. Let's use our autofill. And there we go. Excel is calculating some very interesting things for me. So I am going to do this one again for the purpose of clarity. It is an if statement. I'm going to highlight this whole lot and I'm going to delete it. Click in the first cell that you would like. Go to function. I am looking for if. If what? Well, if the total of the product is greater than 500. What if that is true? If that is true, it must say there discount. If that is not true, it must say there no discount. So there's our argument of the function and the two values, one for true, one for false. Value if true, value if false. Have a look at the syntax of the statement. We are going to start in subsequent lessons working with the syntax of these statements. There we go. And there we go. There is the answers. We are almost finished with this lesson. We now have the percentage of each product. Now please be aware, students, that into this becomes some basic mathematics. We are going to be dividing something by something. Fortunately, they have told you in the question paper what you need to divide by what. So you're not just going to get the percentage of each product, you actually need to construct a formula dividing certain things. In column F3, percentage of each product, we need to determine the percentage of each product in D3 to D11 by dividing each product from the grand total in D13. They say we first need to convert the columns to percentage. Running out of colors here. And the second part of the question, before we use autofill, is to use something called absolute cell referencing. Now the only way for me to show you absolute cell referencing is to do it wrong first and then do it correctly after. So let's take this question piece by piece so we do not get stuck. The first thing we would like to do is we want the percentage of each product. Determine the percentage of each product by dividing each product from the grand total in cell 3. Okay, I think it's the amount of each product. So let's take a look at this. The first thing I have to do before I can do this is I need to convert format cells this to percentage, and I'm going to make it with 0 decimal places, so it will round up or round down. So it will round up if I have a comma 5 there, and effectively equals my amount divided by my grand total, that is D3 divided by D13. When you are using your divide, multiply, plus, minus symbols, I recommend you use the number pad and not the symbols on the keyboard, or you will get stuck. It is very easy to get stuck if you are using the symbols on the keyboard. Use the symbols on the number pad. It's going to be easier for you. And there we go. It tells me 10%. What it has done is it has taken this and it has divided it by this. But this, I have done something wrong. Let me show you what's going to happen when I try and copy down. It gives me divide by naught. Now, why is this happening? I want this divided by this. I want this divided by this. And D5 divided by that. So we are standing still here. If we look at the formula, the first one is correct. It is D3 divided by D13. However, autofill has not worked because we have not used something called absolute cell referencing. If I look at the first one, that is incorrect. Do you see there it says D14? It is looking here. The next one is D15. So what the autofill did is it looked here, got it correct, then it looked here and looked here and looked here and looked here. So it is moving down the rows. It is trying to look in the incorrect place for the grand total. So I'm going to delete all of my work, and I need to force this to stand still. How do we do that? We use the F4 key for something called an absolute cell reference. Equals this divided by this. And I am going to, on my keyboard, press the F4 key. So it is D3 divided by $D, $13. $D, $13 is an absolute cell reference. It means do not move from this cell. So as we copy down, it's going to $D, $13 is not going to change. If I said D13, it's going to change to D14, D15, D16, and it's going to be searching down here for the grand total. I would like the grand total to stand still, so I pressed the F4 key on D when I was on D13, and it made it $D, $13, which is what we call an absolute cell reference, and it will force it to stand still when we copy the formula down. Let's take a look at that. 10%, when I copy down, everything is working. Why is it working? Because D4 divided by D13, because I pressed the F4 key. The next, that was D3 divided by D13, D4 divided by D13, D5 divided by D13. Do you notice the D13 is not changing because I pressed the F4 key on D13? Let me show you once more and we will conclude our lesson. So I will click in the cell where I would like my answer. Equals, begin your formula. This divided by this, that must not change. We don't want it searching here and here and here. So I will simply press my F4 key and it becomes an absolute reference. So I'm referring to the absolute cell, meaning don't change it. Now I may autofill. If you are getting divide by 0, it is searching here and here and here. We use both relative cell referencing, which is the same as when we did concatenate. It is associating this cell and that cell, this cell and that cell, this cell and that cell, this cell and that cell. In this circumstance, we are associating this with only that cell. Students, you may need to watch this video 2 or 3 times when you are going through your activity. Let's have a look if there's anything that we missed. There we go, we are done with that one. I'm going to go back to yellow. I would like to I have used count, but I used count A to count the number of drills. You can use count if you like. You can experiment with that formula. Hang on, we would like to count the number of drills in comma B3. We may have made a mistake there. No, that's count the products in B3. Count the number of drills. Let's have a look at that question. In cell B18, we want to count the number of drills in column B3 to B11. So let's go take a look. Be careful. B18. We're not counting the products, which is what I've actually done. Careful of the trick. They want us to count the number of drills. And we have 1, 2, 3. So the answer there should actually be 3. Read the question, students. I, as your lecturer, even got ahead of myself because I did not read that question clearly. We want the number of drills. I am going to delete that. It's fine. You have learnt what count A is. I am going to use a function called countIf. COUNTIF what? So there we go. COUNTIF. After reading the question, where must I search and what am I searching for under criteria? The question says drills. So I must search in there B3 to B11. What am I looking for? I am looking for drills. That is called our criteria. Have a look at the syntax of the formula. You will start to need to remember these for future activities. I tell it OK, and it's going to tell me there is 3 drills. And there is drill number 1, drill number 2, drill number 3. And that is the COUNTIF formula. So COUNTIF drills. And it will tell me 3. Then finally, the last 2. Use conditional formatting to highlight the text that contains no discount using green fill with dark green text. You can break that question down into 3 or 4 portions. So the next thing we're going to do is conditional formatting, and I'm looking for no discount. So where? I'm going to highlight here where I am looking. I'm going to go to my Home tab. I'm going to go to Conditional Formatting, and I would like to highlight cells that are equal to, let's have a look at the question, no discount. So it is equal to no discount. What do they want? Green fill with dark green text. And there it is, green fill with dark green text. When I tell it OK, it is going to highlight any cell that contains no discount. And I've highlighted the whole range. So if something does become discount, it is automatically going to become green. I'm going to change a number here to 400. Do you see it becomes green? So it is automatically picking it up. Very useful feature in Excel. To undo that, it is Control Z. And then the final aspect of this lesson, of all these new concepts, is we want to use freeze panes to freeze the first 2 rows. So sure, we've had a whole lot of new things in this lesson. You remember I said you may need to watch this video 2 or 3 times. So we want to freeze the first two rows. So that's row 1 and row 2. Be careful of freeze panes. You do not highlight row 1 and 2 and freeze it. It's not going to work. I need to, and I will say this twice, I need to click on the row underneath what I would like to freeze. So I'm actually clicking on row number 3 in the margin. I choose View. I choose Freeze Panes, and I would like it to freeze the pane. What happens then? Do you see what has happened? It is frozen row 1 and row 2 so that I can scroll down with my headings remaining still. That is called freeze panes. And to do it, I will do it once more. Let me unfreeze them. There we go. So we first have our spreadsheet as so. That doesn't help because my headings disappear. So I'm going to click on row 3 underneath where I would like to freeze panes. I click on the View tab, find freeze panes, and freeze my panes. And there we go. Row 1 and 2 are frozen. Okay, students, that concludes lecture 4. Please refer back to the video if you get stuck. You're also welcome to ask us questions on our WhatsApp chat should you get stuck with this activity. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.